Jack Crowley joins me now. He is the Director of Government Relations at the Planetary Society. It's great to have you with us.
Great to be here, Major.
What are you feeling?
Excitement, enthusiasm, it's electric.
Why?
This is the first return of humans beyond low Earth orbit since 1972. That's tremendous. I was not alive for the first time around.
I was. Fun fact, I watched it in the living room of my home, the moon landing in 1969. I was 6 years old. Then my parents took me out to the backyard and said, Major, look up in the sky. Americans are on the moon. And it was a moment I've never forgotten.
And we were treated to a beautiful display of the moon last night here in D.C. Full moon, looking up, clear skies, and knowing that 24 hours after that, maybe an hour after this, there's going to be Americans heading there. Really an exciting moment for our space program.
Help my audience understand the difference between low Earth orbit, high Earth orbit, and going way around the far side of the moon, which this mission contemplates.
Right. I mean, you're talking about orders of magnitude in distance, right? Going to the International Space Station, still an impressive feat. We have astronauts up there right now.
Super impressive.
Very impressive. That's only a few hundred kilometers up. We're talking about...
You can see it with the naked eye sometimes.
If you really squint.
If you really squint,
really
right.
Squint. Yeah, but looking at the moon, I mean, we're not, maybe with a really good telescope, but I don't think anybody's got one of those right now. But the fact is that we're going further than any human has gone in history. And
every step of this mission will be a kind of hurdle to go to the next. Jared Isaacman, the NASA administrator, has made this very clear, as has the commander, Commander Weissman. Look, day 2 doesn't necessarily mean there'll be a day 3. Day 3 doesn't necessarily mean there'll be a day 4. Every day builds on itself, and that's important to understand.
Exactly. It's that stepping stone approach to exploration. It's everything builds on itself. It's why we're building an architecture. It's not these one-off missions where we're going back to the moon. This time we're going to stay. It's that sustainable presence, and it's the thing that drives that is science, right? Understanding the history of the moon, understanding the history of our Earth, understanding the formation of the solar system, understanding what resources are there. I think Congressman Herodopoulos said it very well, that there are resources on the moon that can help enable future exploration, but we have to understand what those resources are in the first place, and that's where the science element of this comes in.
And the congressman also referred to NASA working in collaboration with SpaceX, Blue Origin, because the things that have excited people about space tourism have been all private sector. NASA has sort of been thought of as maybe limited by bureaucracy, limited by lack of ambition, limited by some technological glitches. This is not just a moment for NASA, but everyone's going to be in on this eventually.
Yeah, and they really are. I mean, it's more than 4,000 companies across the country are involved in just the Artemis program. Every state and 3/4 of congressional districts see some
That matters, folks. That's not an accident.
Yeah. And it's because the brightest minds of our nation are working on the hardest problems we've ever faced. And that extends, that's Artemis, that's returning humans to the lunar surface. That's getting them to the surface, right, with SpaceX and the Starship lander, Blue Origin and their Blue Moon lander. And then all of the 120 science missions that are in formulation. Plus, Administrator Isaacman announced a slate of new technology demonstrations and future infrastructure improvements around the moon and on the lunar surface that'll take place in the next few years.
Jack, before I let you go, imagine you're on a street corner, someone taps you on the shoulder very politely and says, come on, what's the big deal about Mars? Why do we need to go?
Life maybe began there. And maybe that doesn't feel like something right now that would change your perspective if we are able to answer that question. But think about the geopolitical implications of the nation that makes the greatest discovery in human history. And that's why us at the Planetary Society, we're constantly talking about the science that's being done at Mars, on the moon, in the outer solar system, using the James Webb Space Telescope and eventually that Nancy Grace Roman Telescope and Habitable Worlds observatories to be able to peer into the deepest depths of the universe, directly image exoplanets, maybe find the evidence of life somewhere. That is the driving question in scientific inquiry right now. And that's something that's really exciting. And so Mars is a big part of that. And it's always been in our periphery, right? It's always been part of the plan. Congress actually put in a very early version of the NASA authorization that, again, that stepping stone approach would eventually lead to human astronauts landing on the surface of Mars. And understanding the scientific case for Mars, search for life is at the center of that.
Jack Crowley, Planetary Society, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Major.
I really appreciate it. As we approach final countdown to liftoff that will bring humans closer to the moon than they have been in more than 50 years, I want to take time to look back at the last time we went to the moon. I am joined now by one of the very last humans to set foot on the moon, Apollo 17 NASA astronaut Harrison Schmitt. Wow, this is a huge honor for me, Harrison Schmitt, to talk to you. It's got to be a big day for you. Tell my audience why it's a big day for you and what you remember most about your mission, 1972, Apollo 17.
Well, it's a big day, Garrett, Major, because I've been talking about this for 53 and a half years, getting back to the moon. It's really important for the country to have this happen. As has been indicated by others, there's a geopolitical connection, no question about it. There's a resource connection, particularly with respect to energy resources here on Earth, but also for those that are required to work in deep space, including Mars. And for me personally, I was more than honored and privileged to be the 12th man to step on the moon. But now some of the arguments I've been making for years that we ought to have a 13th and a 14th and a 15th are on their way. Jarek Isaacman is doing a fantastic job, and NASA is young again. That's extremely important to remember, is that you need a young agency to make these things happen and happen correctly and safely. It is really important to remember that the average age, for example, during the Apollo 8 mission, which was similar to this mission, except that it went into lunar orbit, was less than 25 years. So in mission control. So you know, everything, all the signs look positive right now, and I'm really happy to see it.
Harrison, was there ever a time in those 53 years you were advocating for a return to the moon, that you gave up hope, that you thought America had just lost whatever sense of mission it had about the moon?
No, I never gave up hope, particularly when I saw the commercial side of things starting to take a much more aggressive business position on space. In fact, I've helped found a company in Seattle called Interloon that is primarily focused on the business case for helium-3 that was mentioned earlier. That has a tremendous opportunity not only for energy, fusion energy here on Earth and fusion rockets in space, but also in quantum computing, in medical applications and the like. So I've never given up hope. In fact, I've always argued that things are not going to really happen rapidly until you have the business case for getting back and for assisting NASA to accomplish the more geopolitical operations that are so important.
And you were on the surface of the moon. I've never been able to ask this question of anyone, so I'm going to ask it of you. What is that like? What is that like?
Oh, it's fantastic. Apollo 17 actually landed in a valley called Taurus Littrow that's deeper than the Grand Canyon. Believe it or not, a lot deeper than the Grand Canyon. And it's been an extraordinarily exciting thing for a geologist like myself to have had the opportunity not only to serve the nation, but also to explore a valley like that. In fact, I've just completed a synthesis of all the scientific data that I can put my hands on relative to what we learned from the Apollo 17 mission. That's now online. And it is really an extraordinary opportunity for any American, for any human being, to have the opportunity to begin the movement of the human species out into space.
I just have to ask you, when you were there in this tremendous deep valley, did you feel alone? Did you feel isolated? Did you feel at all afraid?
Major, you know, I did not. The communications were outstanding. Your confidence in your colleagues back on Earth is unbelievably strong. And I just felt like it was another exploration for me, not unlike some that I've encountered here on Earth. So I did not feel alone at all. And of course, Gene Cernan was there, and Ron Evans was in orbit waiting for us to come back.
It's been one of the honors of my life to talk to you, sir. I appreciate it very much. I know you're excited. We're all excited. Harrison Schmitt, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.